Hey there, I'm Lee Rowley, and this is Lee After Dark. Why? Because there's more to being a business leader than just business. Every episode, one brave entrepreneur ejects the pitch and just gets real. Today, I'd like to welcome my friend, Andy Neary. Andy, how are you?
Doing well, Lee. How you doing, man?
I am fantastic. It is kind of in here. We had some problems with the HVAC earlier, and it got up to like 87, and people got grumpy. The sweater vest and bow tie became a lot less pleasant to wear, but we got through it. It's okay, first world problems.
Exactly.
So the premise of this show is really simple. You get 20 minutes to talk about anything you want but your business.
Okay.
Should you succeed, you will get 5 minutes at the end to pitch up a storm. But if you slip up and talk about your business during the interview, you will lose 1 minute of pitch time for every infraction. Fair enough?
Sounds good. I'm a sports guy, man. I play by the rules.
All right. Sounds great. Then I'm going to go ahead and click the timer here to keep us safe and accountable. What are we getting into for the next 20 minutes?
Yeah, man. I'd like to talk about, let's just riff on entrepreneurism.
Sure.
Using, my baseball journey from playing professional baseball to a struggling businessman to who I am today. It's taken a lot longer than it should. It's been 20 years, but it's been one hell of a journey of going here and figuring out what I had to do to work on the mind to allow me to become the person I am today.
Sure, absolutely.
Man.
And so let's back up a little bit. You threw out a sucker punch there with the professional baseball thing. Not really for anybody who knows you, but since I'm not a sports fan, I know absolutely nothing about sports. They used to use me to get the football out of the sewer. Tell us about that. You're a professional. You're playing professional baseball. Like, what led into this? Okay, this journey that's become where you are now.
Yeah, good question. So yeah, I grew up in a baseball family. My dad was a college baseball player. He also a very successful high school baseball coach. So I played for my dad in high school, and I just, was blessed to be raised in a family where you had a mentor and a teacher in your house at all times. Right. And so I had a chance coming out of high school to play Division I college baseball at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. And my story is, I'd say, a little uniquely in that I was a pitcher at the college level. And if you can't tell right now, but I'm not very big. I'm at 5'9". At that time, I was about 170 pounds. And that's very undersized for a pitcher when the average height of a pitcher at the major league level is about 6'3".
Really? Okay.
And I, honestly, to look back at my childhood, I always say I'm the definition of average. If you literally go look up the average height of a male in this country, it's 5'9". And I didn't have an overpowering arm on the mound, and I was not an over-intimidating presence whatsoever. But what happened is throughout my 4 years at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, the first two were kind of a struggle, but the last two were extremely successful because of all the things I did off the field. Hitting the weight room, working on my mechanics, the bullpen sessions. And that allowed me to end up signing a free agent contract with the Milwaukee Brewers. And it's interesting. It's a video that I just released not too long ago talking about the day I got the call. It's a funny story because I didn't get drafted, Lee, out of college. So they do can't remember if it's 2 days or 3 day Major League Baseball draft. And I remember those 2 or 3 days I was stressed out because I'm waiting for my name to get called or somebody to call me to let me know somebody signed me and drafted me. And it didn't happen. And I remember I literally started an internship at a financial advising company in downtown Milwaukee. And it was data entry. And the first day, if you can imagine sitting at a computer, first day of your internship, and all you're doing for 8 hours is entering data. And I remember coming home going, oh, my Lord, this is going to be the worst summer ever. What did I just get myself into? One day into the job, I come home and I get a phone call. And it was from my pitching coach at UWM, Todd Furworth, who's unfortunately no longer with us. And he said, hey, you need to call Harvey Keene Jr., who is a local scout for the Milwaukee Brewers. You need to call him right away. So I did. And Harvey kept it short and sweet. It was a Monday night. And he said, hey, we need you in Helena, Montana by Friday. We want to sign you to a free agent contract. You ready to roll? And I was like, hell yeah. So
smokes.
Go to an internship on Monday. By Friday, I'm in Helena, Montana, a member of the Helena Brewers organization, now in the minor league system, right? And what's interesting, this is where the journey turns. Everything I did off the field, Lee, to be successful up until that point, I kind of got away from. Instead of wanting to stand out, I just wanted to fit in at the minor league level. I saw myself as average because here I was playing against some of the top players in college baseball that had just gotten drafted. And I didn't see myself at their level. And all the crap going on inside my head, those limiting mindset prohibitors, is why my professional baseball career lasted as short as it did. It's because everything that made me successful to get there as an undersized pitcher, I didn't keep doing when I got there. And that led to the same failures in business for, 10, 12 years. Because you would think I would have figured it out right away, right? But when I was released by the Brewers and I went into the business world in financial planning, then insurance, the same limiting mindset still impacted my business. I knew what to do. I knew what I was supposed to do, but I constantly was focused on failing. I was constantly seeing myself as average. I didn't want to stand out. I was hanging around the wrong people. I was blaming everybody else but myself. I mean, I was a dumpster fire.
I can relate.
And so that's my journey. And now, to entrepreneurism, I'm 42 years old. And for the first time in my life, I can call myself an entrepreneur. But I would tell you the only reason I can do that is because of all the work I put on my mindset for the last 5 years.
And these are, this is again, building from the inside out.
Correct.
Building a fundamental.
Correct.
Foundation.
Absolutely. And I know there's, I look back at friends of mine that had dads or moms growing up that were entrepreneurs, had their own business. And in a way I was jealous. I look back and I'm a little jealous because my parents, beautiful human beings, beautiful parents, they were teachers, right? Sure. Steady paycheck, doing great things for the young children in the community I lived in. But looking at some of the parents, that are kids that had parents who were an entrepreneur, I think it just got drilled into their blood, right? Because you saw your mom and dad do that while you're growing up. And so, yeah, it took me a long time. I was not a born entrepreneur by any means, but it took me a long time and a lot of work on my mindset to get to this point I am today.
Sure. I think that maybe there's something with people that are in our age range where we have so many more opportunities now than we could have ever conceived of when we were growing up. So it would have been totally impossible for us to create these goals. And it's just interesting that those blocks persist, even though our opportunities have changed.
Absolutely. I would say, I think about it, and people listening in can't see this. I'm holding up the iPhone, right? Like, does anybody have an excuse anymore? You can start any business literally with this phone and make $1 million. The problem is, if this isn't right, the mindset, and you're fearing judgment, you're fearing failure, you still will have an excuse as to why you're not doing it, because that's what's going to be holding you back.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I want to stop real quick and say hello to Nishant. What's going on, my friend? It's good to see you. And it's not quite 3 a.m. over where you are right now, too. So you're getting a little respite from the usual bow tie up antics. So thank you so much for joining us. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. So, with this journey, you're like, okay, I'm going into this entrepreneurship journey, and I'm, don't have, the thing is that when you're not running on the right mindset, you don't know it.
Yes.
It's when you stop and go, wait a minute, I've been operating on subconscious thought, what Carla and I call scripts, because they trigger, they run, you run with them, and you don't even think about it. And that's what governs most of our thinking, which is why this mindset of what you're talking about is so incredibly important.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I am the definition, Lee. So I've been in the health insurance industry now 17 years, and I'm the definition of thinking the greener grass will change everything. And for the first, like I said, for the first 12, 14 of those years, I didn't work on the mindset. And so I always got to a point with every job I had, with every insurance agency that I had, that I hit that point where I was frustrated. And instead of going, wait a second, what do I need to do to change? I always felt it was them that needed to change. And therefore, I would go find a new agency. Right. And guess what? Give it a year or two, and I'm right back in the same problem. And so what really was the precipice of the change was when Amy and I decided to move out to Colorado. We had spent our whole life in Wisconsin, move out here 6 years ago now. And what changed it all for me, Lee, was this. I went to work for an insurance agency that I was their first sales rep they had hired probably ever, because before me, they just kind of hoped their account managers would sell a thing or two every year. They had no marketing plan, and I'm now in a market nobody knows who I am, right? And so that was really where the journey of personal development started, is going, okay, this is all on me now. I need to take 100% responsibility. So what can I do to work on myself and my mind?
Right. There just becomes a point where you cannot start pointing the fingers.
Yep.
Because you don't have control over anything else.
Correct.
Ultimately.
Correct. Yep.
Absolutely. Okay. So what are the biggest takeaways from this journey that you would like our listeners who are watching the live or replay to understand and integrate into their own lives, into their own journeys?
Great question. For me, it's this. If you want to be an entrepreneur, but for whatever reason, there's something holding you back, it's probably something within your mind. You have to go to work on, you have to go through the personal development journey to get there. But for me, Lee, the biggest things that have changed that have allowed me to have early success as an entrepreneur is, number one, I no longer pursue the opinions of others. Now, I get advice from mentors or accountability partners, but I used to go seek out 8 or 9 different opinions, right? And the problem with opinions is every opinion, or most of them, come with an ulterior motive.
Right.
And so I stopped taking so many opinions. Number two, I no longer fear failure. I no longer fear the fact that, hey, I'm going to try this, and if it fails, I don't care. I'll try something else. I don't care what anybody else thinks. And then just looking at entrepreneurship as the chance to get up every day, and I call it play the game. You get up and every day is new, and it's your chance to have success today. What is the game plan today to have success? I could have gotten blown out yesterday. I could have sucked, but I can get back up today and do it all over again and have massive success. So having that mindset now is I could never go back to probably working for somebody, Lee. So in a matter of like 18 months, I went from never having my own business to I have no idea how I could work for somebody again.
Yeah. Welcome. Yeah. I can tell you that I very briefly took a job like 7 or 8 years ago. And it lasted like a couple months, and it was just one of those. I'm just going to do it to get out of the house, and I'm like, if once you're wired for that entrepreneurship, you're listening to somebody who doesn't know what they're doing tell you what to do. Just doesn't really work.
Yeah,
absolutely. Really cool. So, what is next on your journey?
Man, I live by 3 things: consistency, persistency, and patience. And so as I build this coaching business I have, I just get up every day, again, looking, and I think a lot has changed in the last, we're talking on, was it July 7th? So we're going through a really interesting period in the history of our time, right? It was very easy to start a business and grow it very fast for the last, 10 to 12 years. We had the best economy we probably have ever had. Things have changed. And so I'm really focused on that consistency, just getting up every day and doing the monotonous, boring stuff that most people don't want to do. Goes back to my sports days. Everything I did off the field is what made me successful on it. Same is true in your business. Number 2, the persistency. Even again, if you fail, If you fail, keep coming back after it. And then the patience. No one is, if anybody is telling you they're an overnight success, they're full of crap. You have to put the work in, and it takes time.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I can attest to the number of people who are looking for that easy button. Because someone has presented it to them as possible, yet not been able to give it to them.
Correct.
I won't name any names.
Yep.
Moving right along. Oh goodness. But that might, the question that always comes up, and I'm able to answer that adequately, is like, how do you make that leap? It's one thing to know we need to make that shift to, I don't care, or, not that I don't care about other people's opinions, but they're just data. And, I have the ability and responsibility to evaluate those opinions based on the values I live by and discard the ones that don't match up.
Yeah.
How do you make that shift? Because to do it's one thing, to explain it to somebody else is something entirely different.
It's funny you bring this question up, because it wasn't that long ago. I remember having a conversation with Amy, and we always talk about trusting your gut, right? Or trust your intuition. And I remember saying this. I'm like, I don't think I have intuition. Like I don't feel like my gut tells me anything. But what I realized, Lee, it's because I was taking so many opinions. My intuition was telling me something. My gut was telling me something, but I would go take somebody else's opinion and go, oh, I'm going to do that. And so I think the advice there is get opinions, but again, get opinions from very few people that you trust. But at the end of the day, still trust your gut. And if your gut's telling you to do this, go down this path, I would go down that path.
Absolutely. You make a very good point earlier about ulterior motives. And we have to acknowledge the fact that, especially online, they're everywhere. Anytime someone starts a conversation with you, one of the biggest barriers is just letting them know that you're looking to have a conversation, rather than just fly in with the pitch and just be like, here's what I have and here's what I can do, and I'm so great, and don't you want to do business with me?
Yeah.
And so it's really easy to scare people off, even when you're well-meaning these days, because so many people have unfortunately abused. I think the easiness, the low barrier of entry of the online environment to do really terrible things to the name of marketing and advertising.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, it's easier today to connect with people than it's ever been, right? But at the same time, the buyer's BS meter is also as high as it's ever been. And so, to your point, humans buy from humans, but you have to put in the time to creating that human connection. And I see it all the time on like LinkedIn. I'll connect with somebody on LinkedIn, shoot them a nice voice message, let them watch my stuff for several months, really start resonating and engaging, and then I'll reach out and say, hey, let's chat. But the amount of people today that, connect and literally immediately turn around and want to connect with you ultimately to sell you something, I don't know who's teaching them that, Lee, but it's like, where in the playbook of life do you think that works?
Right. To me, it reminds me a lot of the Vegas timeshare people. Sure, if you've any time on the Vegas, girl and I've probably spent more than our share. But it's every 50 feet, there's some guy who walks up to you and goes, hey, how you doing? And, the first time you engage in the conversation, because you don't know any better, it's just some guy with a tie, and then they ask you where you're staying, and then the next thing you know, they're trying to whisk you off to some 3-hour presentation where they will beat you with clubs and, threaten to, abduct your grandchildren or whatever. And so you can fall for that once. But they're everywhere, and it baffles me that that they would think that would work in consistently, which is again how I see most of the online environment is just one big timeshare salesman thing. The second time you see that, you're not going to fall for it. They come up and say, hey, And I might be polite and say, well, yeah, I'm doing great. But when they say, well, where are you staying? We go, your mom's bedroom. That usually ends the conversation right there.
Well,
I know, I'm a child.
Yeah, I game over. I don't know what to say after that. But and to take that whole conversation to the next level, Lee, this automated stuff people are using. Think about that if you did that as a human. When somebody connects by shaking your hand or saying hi, if you had an automated response that went out,
yeah,
would it work?
Yeah.
It's like, I get it. Email campaigns, drip campaigns, those automations you need, understood. But on platforms like a LinkedIn, where it is about connecting and these automated responses are going out, making you believe it's them, which it's, again, so obvious it's not. Just be human, be yourself, connect with people. That's how we're going to do business moving forward, man. That's, I 100% believe that.
I totally agree with you. You know that I carry that torch as well. So it's fantastic to hear from you and to get your insights and wisdom. So anything else you want to throw in there before we move on to the second portion of the show?
No, man. Like I said, if I can be an entrepreneur, and I'm proudly to say that in 7 months I grew my business to 6 figures in the first year. Again, I'm proud to say that. But if I can do it, Lee, it is proof anybody can do it. And I'm not saying be an entrepreneur because that's what you should do today. But if you want, here's the reason I do it. Number one, you got to figure out your why. My why, Lee, is I want to create financial freedom for Amy and I. I want to create schedule flexibility for Amy and I. And I want to give Amy and I the chance to live and work wherever the hell we want. My jobs up until this point did not let me do that. That's why I do. So figure out your why. And remember, entrepreneurism is the vehicle to the destination. It is not the destination. I see so many people think it is the destination, and all they did is trade the long, grinding, hard hours at the corporate world for the long, grinding, hard hours in the entrepreneur world, and nothing changed. Figure out why it is you're doing it and make entrepreneurism the vehicle. Awesome.
Awesome. Well, what a great way to end up this segment of the show. Thank you so much. We've only had half a dozen infractions or so. And most of them were my fault. So it's, it's at some point the rules just get run through a wood chipper, whatever the heck we have internet. Why not? Right. So, okay. Since we at least pretended to adhere to the rules, I want to be a man of my word here and give you up to 5 minutes to talk about your business, where people can get in contact with you, what you got to offer. The floor is yours, my friend.
Awesome. I didn't know I'd violated any rules.
No, most of them were me.
Oh, okay. So my coaching is simple. When Amy and I moved out to Colorado 6 years ago, I shared this story. I'm a sales rep for a company with no marketing. Now in a market, nobody knows who I am. So for the last 6 years, Lee, I've had to grow my personal brand. And it required me to know exactly who I'm going after with one hell of a message. And then I had to create massive awareness around that brand message. Now, over 6 years, it took me a lot of trial and error, a lot of mistakes, a lot of failures. But what I do now is I coach producers, sales professionals, small businesses to do the same thing. Because in my opinion, Lee, it doesn't take a 6-figure marketing budget to grow your business today. If you just be yourself, share good content, know who you're talking to with the right message, and you do that consistently, you will grow your business. And so I've taken that model. I do a lot of one-on-one coaching, a lot of strategy sessions, but what I'm coming out here in August, I'm doing a 5-month virtual mastermind. So I'm looking to bring 12 high-level business professionals together who've already obtained a certain level of success, Lee. So let's say you're in the insurance world and you've built a $500,000 book of business or $1 million book of business, but you want to take it to 2. Well, what got you here won't get you there. You might have gotten to the $500,000 or $1 million purely on hustle and grind, but to double that book, you only have so many hours and so much of you. Right. So at that point, it's about growing a personal brand. It's about really honing in on your message and sharing it far and wide. And so I'm doing that in a mastermind format, virtual, including a 3-day retreat out here in Fort Collins, to bring 12 high-level business professionals together to not only grow the brand, but do it in a community setting with 11 other people who are trying to strive for the same success you are.
Awesome. And so what advantages does that provide being in a group setting there when everybody is working toward their own similar goals?
Good question. It's 3 things. Coaching. So the content is phenomenal. I've got fabulous speakers coming in. Number 2, community. So doing it in a tribe. And then number 3, most important to me, is the accountability. I think when you're doing it in a group amongst other high-level achievers, it forces you to level up automatically, especially when the other 11 in that group aren't going to let you make any BS excuses. They're going to make you take the action you need. I've been part of masterminds for the last 3 or 4 years, and it has done wonders for my business because of that accountability.
Wonderful. Fantastic. Those are important things to developing that next level, because the things that you say that they haven't necessarily done in the first chapter of their business, and getting to $500,000 or $1 million, as you say, can be done with pure grind. So that's fantastic to hear that you are out doing that. Where can people find out more information or get in touch with you about the program, or just to chat with you in general?
Yeah, a bunch of ways. Number 1, andyneary.com. That's my website. So if you'll go to the website, you'll see information about it's called the Complete Game Mastermind. Definitely hit me up on LinkedIn. Lee, you and I are both all over LinkedIn, so definitely hit me up there. And then if you want to shoot me a message, either on text or email, I'm freely give away my text message. In fact, what I would advise you to do is join my text community, Lee. Have people text the word content to 414, and I'm going to screw this up here. I'm laughing. Here we go. 414-622-1462. And there I share frequent tips and strategies via text, but you also can shoot me an email at andy@majorleaguemindset.com. And there are hyphens between major and league and mindset.
Right on. So we're streaming this to YouTube as well, and we'll make sure to add all these links into the show notes so that people can get that easily on the replay. Any parting thoughts, my friend?
I'll leave it with this, man. Again, we've talked about what it takes to be an entrepreneur. If I can do it, anybody can do it. But I would tell you right now, we're entering the era of business. If you're responsible for growing your business or somebody else's, people want to buy from you. They want to get to know you. So share your story. Create a brand. I always say, Lee, a terrible message with amazing marketing equals a terrible message.
That is absolutely true. I couldn't
Figure out
better myself.
who you are trying to work with, who's your ideal client, and then just start telling their story, and you'll never make a bad connection.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, and thank you again for spending your time with us today. It's fantastic to see
Appreciate
you.
it.
Shout out to Matthew Perkins for joining us. That's not what I meant. Oh, he did that too. Okay. Yeah, okay. He said huzzah. So what's going on? It's glad to have you join us.
Matthew.
This is what we were talking about last week. Is Lee After Dark live, and thankfully Andy was willing to kind of test this out with me. We're just doing the same old version of Lee After Dark, but in a live format. So it's Lee After Dark live. Imagine that. Anyway, if you didn't catch the whole thing, go back and watch the replay. And hashtag bowtie up. Follow that to get all of the episodes of Lee After Dark live. And again, we've got that on YouTube as well. We're not hard to find, people. Not too many people wear bow ties anymore, and especially not when it's 91 degrees out. But, I do it for the love of the people. It's really good. It's what it's all about. So anyway, we will catch you back on Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern for another Lee After Dark live. This is going to be really cool, and that's going to be our regular time from now on, Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern. So be sure to catch that. Tell your friends, tell your enemies. I don't care. I'll take them all on. So until then, This is Lee Rowley with my good friend Andy Neary. Be present and be well.